Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So the book has 4 chapters. The first chapter is about the steps in my spiritual journey. And these steps are common sense questions that everyone should have. The first of these questions is to ask yourself, what is this life worth living for? Is it just materiality or more? By materiality, I mean your clothes, the food you eat, the car you drive, the house in which you live. Is that the goal of your life, or is it something more? And you can realize that materiality itself is deceiving. Why? Because every object will decay, will be used, will be worn. Even your desires about this object will change over time. Everything will become yellow, like a grass that grows. It becomes yellow and then the wind just blows it away and you will be looking for something greener. So the point here is to realize that materiality cannot be the end goal. But what we look for through materiality is the satisfaction that it procures. Now, which satisfaction is worth striving for? Is it just immediate pleasure, like food, and you just enjoy eating it? Is that it? Or can it be something longer and more lasting? And I noticed that intellectual pleasures usually last longer than physical pleasures. I mean, as a scientist, I remember when I was studying some physics concept. When you understand a concept after having struggled to make sense of it, gives you a sense of satisfaction, gives you pleasure, it gives you a certain sweetness. And the highest of these, I believe, is the truth. To know that you're on the right path, to have this confidence that you're doing the right thing. It's like when you help someone and you see that other person smiling back at you. It gives you a sense of satisfaction that is much higher than eating a good dessert. The second step, it's about realizing what influences you as a human being. Like there's always this question between nature, how much is from your fitra, your own self, and how much was nurtured, how much was influenced by your context. And then a good chunk of it is influenced by the surrounding. It starts first with your family, your siblings, your parents, and quickly it is taken over by schools and by the media you're subject to. Media, I mean television or even social media on your phone, all the videos, all the movies you can watch. And if you agree with these circles of socialization, then you must question who produces these media and who produces this curriculum, this school curriculum, because they must have an agenda. So you must question this school curriculum. You must question these media, who created them and for what purpose. Because there is hidden agenda. It's hidden because we don't teach it directly, but it's here, it's obvious. The material you see in school is taught for a certain reason, hopefully to make you a better person, but maybe there's other objectives within it. Similarly, the media that is promoted, the movies that are shown on television, they have a certain plot, a certain story, but overall it's here to inculcate a certain culture, to shape the culture, and it will shape you as an individual. So the idea is to question the information you've been accessing through these media and through these curricula. So the third step, after realizing the different influences that shaped you as an individual, and after questioning these influences, is to realize that although you can and you should question every single influence, for many of these, you won't have the answer. You must rely on trust. You cannot doubt everything that you cannot verify yourself. When you watch a television program, you don't see what is behind the camera. You don't see who is holding the camera and for what purpose, what is behind that person, what is behind the scene. We don't see any of these, and we will never see any of these. So you must trust the author. You must trust the teacher, that the teacher at the end is here to help you. But then the central question that comes naturally is, who do you trust? How do you build that trust? Maybe most importantly, what kind of information should you let yourself be influenced by? So the fourth step is about making rational choices. And here what I mean is to choose the media that you will let yourself be influenced by, or to choose a trustable person. You won't listen to anyone randomly in the street. It must be logic. It must follow a certain logic. And that logic can be different for different people, but basically you need to be able to argue for it, to explain why you choose to listen to that person or that media more than another. And the argument can simply be having experience with that person. You live with your parents for so many years, you've seen a lot of good coming out of them, so you just trust them. So you believe that in the future they will also be benevolent and doing things for your own good. Or it can be by cross-linking different informations. For example, if you're trying to hire a new person, you ask that person for a CV, but you also ask for reference letter. And then you can cross-link between what this person says about him or herself and what the references say about that person. If it makes sense, if it's all coherent, then you will start trusting that person. The fifth step is about working with harmony. Harmony between the mind and the heart, between your intellect and between the sensation that it provides. That's quite important. Why? Because in science, in this technological world, we're taught to live by the fact, to live by numbers, to live by measurables, and we try to dismiss feelings, how you feel about them, which is as important if you, at the end, you're looking for satisfaction, because what? Satisfaction is not material. Satisfaction is not really measurable, and there's no one recipe for everyone to achieve satisfaction. For example, I can look at a sunset and find it beautiful and it will satisfy me. I can look at the sunset 10 times and it will start looking common and it will not have the same effect, although it is exactly the same scene. I'll get used to it and I'll get bored with it. So satisfaction is important and is not directly linked to something material. So it's important to develop both your intellect and your sentience. So it's important to walk a path that satisfies both your intellect and your capacity to feel. So in summary, I have 5 initial steps, common sense steps. The first one is to realize that the materiality cannot be the objective. The material is only a mean to achieve that satisfaction. And what satisfies me the most is to achieve truth, to know what the truth is, to be in the right path, to do the right thing. That's what I found most satisfying. The second step is to realize that yourself as an individual, you've been shaped by external influences. So you must be able to question these influences, whether it's the school, whether it's your own parents, your friends, the media you watch, the books you read. And while questioning all of these, is also to realize that you cannot verify every single piece of information. You must trust some sources of information. You must trust some people in order to live sanely this life. And though it brings the question, on whom do you trust? Which source will you trust? How do you build that trust? And intuitively, I will put my trust on what is coherent, altruistic, and constant. So the goal is to undertake this journey while maintaining a harmony between both your intellect and what you feel. Because at the end, what we're trying to achieve is a harmony between your intellect and your heart, between the ideas, the way you understand things, and the way you feel about them. It has to make sense, and you have to feel good about it.